My name is Mike. I'm 30 years old and work as a company employee. I'm in charge of negotiations with our clients. Recently, the person in charge at the client's company changed, and it's been tough to make progress in our discussions. Even though work is tough, I used to find it rewarding. But the new person in charge has this inexplicable superiority complex and looks down on me, making it very difficult to work with them. However, since we've had a long-standing relationship with their company, we can't be too assertive on our end. It seems like they know this and have been pushing unreasonable demands on us, which is really troubling. With the talks not progressing, my work efficiency has also dropped recently, and I'm at my wit's end. I had a meeting with him today, and, well, it was incredibly draining having to be so cautious around him. Right off the bat, he said something like this.
Today, you're going to accept all our conditions. If your side agrees, we can wrap this up quickly.
All I could do was give a wry smile. Accepting all their conditions is obviously impossible. After all, they always come up with such unreasonable proposals. So I responded with, oh, well, let's hear your proposal first. Depending on what it is, we can decide how to proceed. Then the person in charge made a clearly displeased face.
That again, Mike, you always say that but end up hardly accepting any of our conditions.
Of course, I mostly have to refuse since they always make such unreasonable proposals. Faced with such a comment, all I could do was force a smile. I try to accept what I can, you know. I dodged the issue like that. The person in charge, looking unconvinced, said,
Well, at least for today, please accept our proposal a bit more. We've had a long relationship after all. You can handle a bit of unreasonableness, right?
And like that, they tried to forcefully push the conversation forward again. It's exhausting because it's always like this. It would be easier if I could just say no, but it's not that simple. He's like a child, trying to push his opinion through, and when he realizes it won't happen, he gets sulky. It's clear he becomes visibly upset, making it difficult for us to deal with him. Well, he probably acts this way on purpose to trouble us. It's embarrassing behavior for an adult, but I doubt he feels embarrassed about it. If his opinion doesn't prevail, he seems to want to stir things up as much as possible. That's the attitude he has. It's a shame because the previous person in charge was so nice. In the end, we hardly accepted any of their proposals, and the meeting concluded, but by then, his mood was at its worst.
It seems like your proposals mostly went through again. We put a lot of thought into ours, you know. All that time wasted. It's really discouraging. If it's going to be like this every time, do you even need me? Why don't you just decide everything on your own? It would be more efficient.
He came at me full of sarcasm. I wish we could decide everything on our own, but we can't just ignore the other company. So we take the time to align our opinions, but when he brings proposals that don't get accepted, he gets upset, and I'm the one who feels like lashing out. It's really frustrating dealing with this every time. If it were possible, I'd really like to have the person in charge changed. Well, at least they're accepting our opinions for now. And dealing with difficult people is part of the job, so I just have to endure it. Asking for a change in personnel just because I don't like them would be childish of me. Even if their attitude is poor, if they brought decent proposals, I'd feel differently. But it's just unreasonable demands, and when they don't get their way, they get seriously upset, leaving me with nowhere to direct my anger. Well, I can't expect a change in personnel, so I guess I just have to get used to this person. Eventually, I want to reach a point where their attitude doesn't bother me at all. A few days later, that person in charge did something unbelievable. It happened yesterday, but I was supposed to discuss things with the CEO of their company, who I've known for a while and have had several negotiations with. During our meeting, I received a baffling email. Accept all the conditions of our person in charge. Otherwise, we'll stop all transactions. That was the content of the email, but it was supposedly from the CEO I was currently discussing with. Of course, it couldn't have been the CEO, so it seemed like someone pretending to be him had sent the email. Well, thinking about it now, it's clear it was that person in charge. But at the time, I was just confused. Having the supposed sender right in front of me was a major factor in my confusion. Who would go to such lengths, right? So, as I frowned, wondering who it could be,
Is something wrong?
the client CEO asked me. I decided to show him the email honestly. I received this email.
This is from my company's email address, but I don't remember sending such an email.
Yes, of course, I understand that. But who could have?
Do you have any idea who might have sent this, Mike?
When the CEO asked me that, the face of that particular person in charge came to mind. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but we've had a change in personnel recently, right? Considering his behavior, it seems like something he might do.
Him. That would make sense.
Really?
I've heard rumors about him around the company, but I never imagined he would go this far.
I was surprised to learn that even the CEO was having trouble with this person. Well, I can't be sure, but it does seem highly likely, doesn't it? As I said this, the CEO also seemed troubled. Then he said something unexpected.
Could I borrow your cell phone for a moment? I'd like to reply myself.
Wait, you're going to reply, Mr. CEO.
Yes, this has to be the work of one of our employees, and I certainly didn't authorize any talk of halting transactions. We need to get to the bottom of this.
Hearing this, I quietly handed over my cell phone to the CEO. I watched nervously as the CEO handled the exchange. First, he typed this message: "We haven't heard anything about stopping transactions. Everything has been discussed and agreed upon with the person in charge." The CEO sent a firm reply. An immediate response came back. "I've heard everything from the person in charge. Your company is always too pushy. It's causing our employees a lot of trouble. So we need to renegotiate and proceed in a way that's more favorable to our company." The CEO was flabbergasted by this reply.
Good grief, sending such a ridiculous email without my permission.
Have you heard anything from him? Anything like what's written in this email?
Well, he did grumble about a few things, but from what I heard, it seemed like you were in the right, Mike. So I told him to proceed with the transaction as is. To think he would go this far, pretending to be me.
Hearing the CEO's words, I thought to myself that this person in charge was finished. He wanted to renegotiate just to make things easier for himself, even going as far as impersonating the CEO. That's definitely crossing the line. I couldn't help but give a wry smile again. The CEO typed this into the email. "That's what you say, but the CEO is right here in front of me. Maybe you should keep track of the CEO's schedule a little better, Mr. Fake CEO." I couldn't help but burst out laughing when I read that. There was no reply for a while. He must have realized he was caught and was probably panicking. During that time, the CEO apologized to me.
I'm really sorry one of our employees did something so foolish. I had a feeling he might cause trouble eventually, but I never imagined it would be to this extent. I'm glad I was here today. It could have caused you a lot of confusion, Mike.
No, I'm fine. But I'm really grateful you were here, Mr. CEO. At that time, we weren't certain that the fake CEO who sent the email was that person in charge. But both the CEO and I thought it had to be him. He really lived up to our expectations. After a while, we received this email. "Before I get scolded, I'll come clean. I am not the CEO. I am the person in charge who had the meeting with you, Mike. I just couldn't accept it, so I did what I did. I apologize for causing concern. As for the transaction, it's fine to proceed without any changes." Both the CEO and I felt relieved after reading this message. After all, it was already too late for such an email. The CEO said he would seriously consider what to do about this person in charge and then left. Having him on staff is nothing but a risk for the company. From the CEO's reaction, I figured firing him was almost certain. If that happens, it would actually be a relief for me. Normally, having personnel change frequently is a problem, but in this case, I'd welcome it. Well, whatever happens, I'm supposed to hear back from the CEO later. Sure enough, he was fired. The CEO contacted me as promised, and it seems he begged for mercy. But after sending such an email while pretending to be the CEO, there was no way he could be forgiven. In the end, he was dismissed without question. But the real shock came afterward. For some reason, that person in charge came to our company to see me. When I was told he was here and went to the lobby, there he was, looking pale as a ghost. He had an ominous air about him, and I felt a bit scared. May I ask what brings you here?" Knowing he had been fired, I asked cautiously. Then he said something outrageous. "I've been fired from the company. That's why I'm here. I have a favor to ask." "A favor?" "I want to work for this company. Could you put in a good word for me, Mike? I was speechless at such an unexpected request. I couldn't comprehend and had to ask again. Here, at our company. But why would you think that?
I don't have any other connections, and without a job, I can't make ends meet. It seems like you've had a long relationship with my former company, and I thought maybe you'd hire someone who worked for a company you trust.
No, while there is a relationship of trust between the companies, that doesn't extend to you as an individual, does it? But it seemed he wasn't satisfied with that answer.
But I've interacted with you, Mike, several times before. You don't think I'm a complete stranger, do you?
Yes, of course, I'm aware of that. But even taking into account what kind of person you are, I still can't speak to our CEO on your behalf.
Why not?
Well, you were fired for impersonating the CEO and trying to halt transactions on your own, weren't you? Which company would hire someone who did that? As I continued to hit him with hard truths, his face grew even paler. But from my point of view, it's like, why can't he realize such an obvious thing without being told? Maybe he didn't have the luxury to think things through because his livelihood was at stake. Still, there was no reason for us to help him. Honestly, it was nothing but a nuisance. So I made that clear to him. I'm sorry, but I can't refer you. Your attitude at work was problematic, and after sending me such an email, you have some nerve showing up here.
I was just frustrated at the time.
Everyone deals with unreasonable situations and gets upset at work. But that doesn't mean we can trust someone who impersonates the CEO and sends threatening emails like that. Please, just leave. Even after I made myself clear, he persisted.
Don't just dismiss me without listening. I realize now that I made a mistake, and I'm reflecting on it.
Is that so? Then why haven't you apologized to me? When I said that, he looked taken aback and finally apologized.
I'm sorry for the trouble I caused. If you could help me, I would dedicate myself to this company from now on. Won't you give me a chance?
Even if you ask me, I have no intention of giving you a chance. Besides the email incident, it's also a nuisance to deal with this kind of situation. So could you please leave now?
This isn't how it was supposed to go. I admit I got a little carried away, but I was trying to do my best at my job.
He made excuses that made me doubt whether he was truly reflecting. I was just fed up. Since he showed no signs of leaving, I decided to take the final step. Even if you keep lingering, our response won't change. If you persist, I'll have to call security. Please leave now. And don't contact us in the future, okay?
I thought you, Mike, would help me.
The reason I haven't been too assertive with you until now is because of the strong connection with the company you worked for. But I have no intention of holding back with you personally. So please, give it up. With that, he finally left. He was a handful until the very end. But now that it's over, I feel a great sense of relief. It looks like we can have proper transactions from now on. I'll keep doing my best, too.